Okay, hello everyone and welcome to Ms.Stomber's virtual demonstration. Today we're going to be learning how to create a surrealist landscape digitally in the art app ArtStudio. Before we begin though, we're going to click on our home button and we are going to go into our settings to make sure that our Bluetooth settings are correctly working with our Apple Pencil. If your Apple Pencil is not connected, insert the USB part of your Apple Pencil into the bottom part of your iPad. This will connect the device. If you don't have an Apple Pencil today, that is also okay because we can use our fingers to draw in ArtStudio. So let's go back to the home screen and we're going to click into ArtStudio. The very first thing we're going to do is click on this menu. This is our menu panel. We're going to go to File, New, and we're going to make a new document. Let's set our width for 1200 pixels and our height for 1600 pixels. We want to make sure our background is selected on white, and let's go ahead and create our artboard. Now, put your two fingers straight down on the screen and pinch your fingers inward in order to minimize your artboard. This will create an art canvas that we will be working on and you'll see the background. Now, we have our new document. The very first thing we want to do is think about your paper being in 3 different layers. We have our foreground, our middle ground, and our background. We know that in the foreground, we're going to have our biggest image. So let's go ahead and go into our menu and let's go to File, Import, Insert as Layer. This is very important that you select Insert as a Layer because if you don't, you may have to start over. Import from photos, and now according to our stock imagery that we were provided today, we will be selecting, let's see, what does my Dreamworld want to be today? What will I make it? I'm going to make a desert space scene. So here is my selection of my imported desert scene. Now, it's in the middle ground technically, and it's not really how I want it to look. So how do I alter it? Go into your stacked diamond button. This is your layer panel. This is super, super important when it comes to digital design. Let's click in. You're going to see now there's layer 1. This was our basic paper when we first started. And you see this blue line that highlights the paper. This means that this layer is activated, meaning that we can work on it. If you do not select and activate your layer first before working on it, your work will not be recorded. So let's go ahead and click on layer 2 because this is the layer we want to work on. We want to work on manipulating this sand imagery in our foreground. Also, since we clicked on our layer, let's go ahead and label this as our foreground. Done, and X out. All right, so now we are working on our foreground layer. Let's go back to our menu. We're going to go to edit. We want to edit this. We're going to transform it, move, scale, and rotate. We're going to put 2 fingers straight down, click and drag straight down, and you want to expand until you're happy. Let's say I'm happy right about here, and it's right there in my foreground. I can see the details of the sand. You move it down a little bit more, make it perfect. I'm happy with it. Apply, done. Next layer. Let's go into our middle ground now. Back into our layers. You see how the foreground's first? The middle ground will occur in the next layer. So let's go to File, Import, Insert as a Layer. Very important, make sure you click this. Import from photos. And let's go ahead and see what do we want to put in the next layer. You know what? I'm learning about Rome in AP Global History. I'm pretending I am. However, you might really be. because I know ninth grade has to take social studies, AP Global, Global Studies. Rome happens to be a very cool Asian city, so I've selected Rome. I'm going to go into my layers now because my Rome city is sitting right in the middle of the middle ground. It doesn't look quite right. And we want to make sure that we're working organized. So we're in our layer panel. Let's rename Rome as our middle ground because that's what we're putting in the middle ground. We're going to make it Rome. Click out. Okay. Now, remember, the middle ground, we want to work on it. So we have to make sure this blue highlight is around it. It's activated. Go to your menu, edit, transform layer. Same routine, move, scale, and rotate. 2 fingers down, expand out, and place right in your middle ground. I'm happy. Apply. Okay. Now, there's a little problem here, right? Our foreground should be the closest layer to us. The middle ground should not be overlapping the foreground. The foreground should be first. It should be overlapping the middle ground. So let's go into our layers and let's move our layers so our image is properly in order. Now we want our foreground to be overlapping the middle ground, so we're going to move it up. I'm going to X out. Is our foreground above and overlapping the middle ground? Yes. So now we are working back to the background. So let's get our background image in here. We are going to go to File, Import. What do? Insert as a layer, import from photos, and let's grab a really cool background. I'm actually a huge fan of space, so I'm going to go ahead and choose this space background. Now, this layer, we'll say it's layer 2. Let's go ahead and rename it background. You'll also notice it's selected, it's activated, it's highlighted in blue. So we are ready to work on it. Now let's take this image and let's transform it and fill up the entire background of our image. I'm going to fill up the entire background there. Apply. Okay. Now we have a problem. Our middle ground disappeared. Why did it disappear? Go into your layers. You will see that the background is in between the foreground and the middle ground here in the layer panel. What should go in the middle of a composition? Should it be the foreground, the background, the middle ground? Big hint, middle. Middle ground belongs right in the middle. So let's click on our little lines here to move the layer. I'm going to put our middle ground right in the middle. Let's see what happens. Click on the show button. What do we think? Are we all in order here? I think we are. We have our background sitting in the background, our middle ground overlapping the background layer, and finally our foreground overlapping the middle ground layer, creating foreground, middle ground, background. We can leave our image simply like this as a digital landscape, but let's make it a little surreal. Let's have some fun. So we are going to go to File. Let's import another photo. We're going to insert as a layer, import from photos, and let's grab a really strange image. I'm going to go for the honeybee. I want to use the honeybee because honeybees don't hang out in space or on deserts or by Rome. Maybe they do hang out by Rome actually, but in this case, this guy I want to make him really weird. So this surreal landscape really comes to life. I'm going to go to my layers because we got to make sure we're activated working on this honeybee. Go to Edit, Transform Layer, Move, Scale, and Rotate. And I'm going to click and drag with my 2 fingers again, pinching and expanding. I'm going to make my honeybee be diving into this landscape. And now, is a honeybee as big as the Colosseum in Rome? No. But we're making a surrealist landscape. So we are playing with scale. We are manipulating this image so that we are distorting this view of reality here. We're going to hit apply. And now finally, let's go to one more thing. I want to make sure layer, I'm activated. I'm going to show you how to create a drop shadow. We go to our menu, down to filters, stylize, drop shadow, and now normal shadow. Let's make the opacity, let's bring it all the way up to 100. I'm going to make this really bold, and we're going to apply that drop shadow to our bumblebee. And now do you see how that bumblebee comes to life? We can go backwards and see how it's more flat, move forwards. There we go. We are making that bumblebee more of a 3D image, because when we add a shadow to an image, it goes from 2D to 3D, because now that image is live. It has a shadow. So finally, let's go to File, Save As, and let's call this Bees in Rome. And save. There we go. And that is our lesson today.